decided to call Gambians to arms. And we convened a meeting here in Athlone Hall in 2000, and MRDG UK emerged from that. Now, what MRDG UK was doing was trying to sensitize not only the Gambian community in the UK, but also to engage with the institutions of state here, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, the Commonwealth Secretariat, the European Union, but mainly using a champion of the Gambian cause in the person of the Member of Parliament for Hayes and Harlington, who is a committed Gambian, honorary Gambian in my view, the MP, Labour MP John MacDonald, who had done a great deal to help the Gambian cause here. And Mr. Joe was here, and he was generous enough, as he continues to be, to make this hall available to us then, as he did today. So things have moved ahead quite a bit. But the reason for setting up MRDG UK was to, like I said, to sensitize the Gambian community, but also to engage with other institutions. Now, subsequently, a lot of other organizations had emerged to do pretty much the same. The difference with CDCG and why we decided to set up CDCG was not only to harness all these organizations and their talents, their energies, their resources, and to refocus, if you like, some of the activities that will make it sharper, like I said. And CDCG represents a coming together of all the diaspora groups, pro-democracy groups in the UK, under the leadership of Mr. Dabo, in order to take the fight forward, if you like. Now, since setting up, it's been 8 months. A lot of very positive things have happened. But we've also encountered a lot of challenges. And the one major challenge that seemed intractable was about mobilization, both of resources, but also of membership. Now, we are getting somewhere. I consider CDCG, even at this stage, even 6, 7, 8 months after its formation, I still consider it to be in a development phase. We are still trying to put in place a robust structure that will not only carry the struggle, but will sustain the enthusiasm and also the commitment to seeing this through. Mr. Dabo said about the lifespan of CDCG would end with the end of dictatorship. Yes, so that everybody else who is a member will go back into their different organizations to continue bringing Gambia and Gambian interests to the fore. Now, the reason we are in this predicament today, and I believe strongly that the reason is Gambia is the one country in Africa that I know where civil society has had very little to do or to contribute in terms of politics and political development. And that has to change. And CDCG is a collection of all these groups, and it has an agenda, a limited remit. But what is good is that of these groups that comprise CDCG, through this process, we are learning and we are also teaching. What we learn in our collective on the CDCG will benefit the individual organizations that comprise them. So it's a good school. As regards my particular pillar, which is the communication pillar, everybody knows today, those of us who did, those of you who did IT, we are clear about not only the power of information, but the effectiveness with which we use that information is going to determine whether we succeed or fail. I believe that. Information is power. I was entrusted with heading the communications pillar. Briefly, let me just say what we have achieved so far and what the challenges are and how we are going to break them down. When we set up in May last year, we thought straight away, okay, we're going to submit some work plans about how these individual pillars are going to operate over the period. And we all submitted work plans. And that has been put into a consolidated work plan, which spells out what all the pillars are going to do, how we are going to strategize, and how we are going to implement these strategies. Now we have done that, and from there the implementation process starts. And the reason I said to this day we are still in a development phase is because some of these strategies and some of these ideas that we have talked about and which we have put down in our work plans are still to mature. Now today we have, as it's been shown on the screen, a new website. One would think perhaps we would have had a website at one time. I believe that. We perhaps could have. But I talked about the challenges. Now, one of the challenges that we have is that of resources, but also, quite frankly, honestly, it's about the level of commitment that we all have, or should have. I'll be the first to put my hand up and say, I could have done a lot more. And perhaps that would be true of some of the other pillars that contribute or comprise the CDCG. But as we go ahead, as we try to deal with the many challenges that we have, we are also at different stages during this process, learning more and coming out with better strategies and coming out with better plans. If the resources are available, we are able to tackle them. Even without resources, we have managed to come a long way. And through the commitment and the sacrifices of individual members, we have arrived at this point. It is now from here to lift off, for takeoff. Hopefully, our website will be up and running in a few days, I hope. But also, then we will start to really continue the sensitization. We will have a focal point to which people can turn if they want to know about Gambia and Gambians and what we, the diaspora, are doing to pick up the situation in Gambia. We have a pool of great talent in the Gambian community here. That has to be used. And we have been using it and will continue to use it. But as always, we have faslum dawda. I'm called chow now again. I'll interpret that for you. However much the horse gallops and runs, you always have to give it a little lick so that it can redouble itself.
Careful, cruel animals.
You see them when they are raising the horses, they do?
Yes, they do. We give them a boost in the back, and once in a while we encourage them to do. So yes, we are looking to the Gambian community and to friends of the Gambia to continue to give us their support, both in kind and in cash. Because we do need that. We need the resources to build this into a campaign, a sustainable campaign that can deliver. Now, we talked about Gambia and why we need to come here and form this organization in order to carry the work forward. As we do that here, other Gambian groups and organizations around the world are beginning to do that as well. There is a drive towards alliances, coalitions, and coalescing. And as much as we have done here, we have managed to inspire, through the formation of CDCG, we have inspired other organizations in America and in continental Europe to do similarly. And today in America we have CODE, which is the coming together of all of the groups pro-democracy groups around the world into an organization called Codex. But that was preceded by CDCG, and we were the harbingers, if you like, of alliances and coalitions. And we want to continue doing that. We want to consolidate the very many resources, the talents, the skills of Gambians, whether they are active in these organizations or whether very quietly and in private are doing their very little to contribute to that cause. We want every Gambian, whether you are 12 years old or whether you are 60 years old, the realization that our country is in danger is what should motivate us. And CDCG will continue to tap into that. The motivations, the commitment, the dedication, the love of country is what should motivate us all the time to try our level best, to redouble our efforts so that we can achieve the ultimate goal, which is to remove dictatorship from our country and to restore normality, democracy, human rights, rule of law, values that Mr. Davo referred to as universal values, which they are. These are what really gives the human being that level of dignity that you can, recognize as somebody with entitlements and rights that need to be protected, not only by constitutions, by me, but also by myself and you and everybody else. Constitutions are mere aspirations. Constitutions are frameworks that will guide how we behave, what our interests are, what our limitations are, but more importantly also, what our responsibilities are. And I believe one of the most important responsibilities that a citizen should have is the responsibility to protect the rights of others, because in doing so, they are also protecting their own individual rights. So it would be useless if I can enjoy the full benefits and entitlements of my constitutional right if my next door neighbor cannot. It would be useless if I can walk the streets knowing that I can get home in peace. No security personnel would harass me or intimidate me or take advantage of me. If I can do that, if I can have that confidence to walk the streets and not be harassed, I want also for my fellow citizens to be able to enjoy that right. Human rights, like they say, is indivisible. It is not only political rights, it is also economic and social rights. If today Gambians are hungry, it's because the government has messed up the government. It's because the president, who is head of the government, has messed up our country. It's as simple as that. If I were able, through the electoral process, to change the government, I wouldn't be here. I would be on the ground in Gambia, where I can go and support my political party and cast my vote and have my favorite candidate win the election and become president. That is the superficial aspect of government. The fundamental of government is the protection of the individual interest and entitlement. What we do here in CDCG is to make sure that Gambians who have been denied their rights are able, through the processes and the strategies that we implement, to recognize not only their rights, but also how to fight for it. And that is what we are about. CDCG is about empowering Gambians to take up the civic responsibility to fight for the entitlements and the rights that are inalienable and are also in their constitutions. Mr. Jallo referred to Gambian constitution as a toilet paper. I cannot agree more. Because today, Jallo doesn't even refer to our constitution. What he does best with the constitution is to send notice of urgency to the parliament amending our constitution willy-nilly. 44, since 1994 today, 44 separate individual amendments have been made to our constitution. Each and every one of those amendments are taking back, clawing back entitlements from individuals and vesting it and continuing to put it in the hands of the president. Now, the American Constitution, in comparison, had only had, what, 18 amendments in 200 and something years. The Gambian Constitution in 20 years had been amended 44 times. 44 times. What does that tell you about constitutional government in Gambia?
Some achievements?
Well, yes. Yes. But then, we continue to fight the good fight. And we call upon every Gambian, and I'm happy today. In 1994, when we started, the day after Mr. Dabo, we were, like I say, we were standing on a very desolate island. A few people on a very warm and hot bed of sand, as it were. We were being castigated. We were being, what do you call it? Called all kinds of names. Today, that island is overcrowded with people who are ready, willing, and able to fight the good fight. And all we need to do now is to give us the occasional and periodic whip from the elders, Mr. Dabo, Mr. Jalo, and the others who are here today. Give us the occasional whip and say to us, you know, run harder, redouble your effort, work harder, because the price of all that is freedom and liberty and justice and human rights and the rule of law. Rule based on laws. It's not difficult. We live in England. We know how it works. We know that the Prime Minister cannot do certain things without consulting the Parliament. We know it's got conventional powers, but those powers are subject to law. In Gambia, we have a law unto himself. That is Jammeh. He decides who lives and who dies. He decides who has liberty and who does not. He also believes that he is the be-all and the end-all, the alpha and the omega. What I call Jammeh, I call him, like Mr. Job says, a primitive accumulator of wealth. And that is why he's captured our state and made it into his own. For him, Gambia has become the new enterprise. And what is that enterprise? He seizes political power and he uses violence to exploit. That's what Jammeh does. Simple. He has a cabal of people who are as greedy and hungry as he is. And he uses their primitive desire for power and material wealth to continue to oppress and continue to exploit the Gambia. Enough must be enough at some point. And CDCG and all the other good organizations are going to win this war. There is no doubt in my mind about it. I have been here long enough to see that we are arriving at critical mass very soon. And when people are hungry, and they are deprived of political power, they are deprived of a means of changing their government, there is only one way. And that way is to fight back. We are coming to that stage. And I hope that at this point today, from this point, we are making a new departure. And that new departure is towards victory. Victory in Gambia, victory for Gambians, and victory for our Gambia, a country where we all we need to take it all the way to Kanilai if we have to, because that's where the Moron stands.